tax registration. This is an area where all of us as Ugandans who are still productive, who are still in the working bracket, in the businesses, we should get interested to understand more. What is it all about? Because it is important that we appreciate this is the starting point as you enter into the journey of tax compliance. Yes, that quite often the rules are clear. When should you register for what type of taxes? But most of us, we try to be so smart. We assume that we are smart. And in assuming that we are smart, we want to keep behind. By the time we conclude today, we shall be able to see if I'm meant to be on the register and I'm just hiding somewhere. What are the implications? But then, if we look at the tax registration itself, as we said, the first bit of it is getting a TIN, commonly known as a TIN, but it is tax identification number.
And very many of us don't want to. Very many, I have one, but I mean very many people don't want. When you talk about a TIN, someone would say, yes. But today, as long as you are in gainful employment, you are in business, you are still transacting, a TIN is a must. We have seen that even when we are transacting, let's say you are buying land, you want to transfer land, you require a TIN. You are transacting with banks, they require a TIN. Almost every entity is requiring a TIN. If you are in a business and you want to do a formal business, you cannot afford to do this formal business when you don't have a TIN. So, getting into registration and possibly what it takes. The first bit of a tax that everyone looks at the initial step of getting a TIN number is income tax. Now, income tax, previously, years ago, one would just get a TIN, a tax identification number, because he or she wants, let's say, to buy a motor vehicle. So income tax was not a must at registration. But as of today, whether you are an NGO, whichever type of entity you are, the moment you apply for a tax identification number from URA, it is a must that the first tax you register for is income tax. So think of it, a TIN number, it is automatic that the moment you get it, at least you are registered for income tax. Quite often I get questions. So does it mean that if I apply for a TIN number and I'm given a TIN number, I start paying value-added tax? Of course, no. No. It is how does this all happen? I have a TIN number, an income tax, but then how do they track? Does it mean that there is something attached on me that soon or later I have to clear?
In our other programs, we shall be able to see which incomes are taxed how. But income tax, this is a tax on our incomes. What we earn as individuals, as companies, as corporate bodies, that's the tax that is charged on what we earn. But for the purposes of this discussion, we would want to see if I've registered. I've been given income tax as my first tax here. Then what follows?
So I now have my TIN number. That is step number one.
As I said, when you get a TIN number, the first tax that you are registered for, irrespective of the type of the entity, you may be an NGO that does not pay taxes, but you are registered for tax called income tax. Now, the other tax heads, for example, if you look at pay as you earn, when we are having a discussion like this, we look into taxes that affect us quite often that we can easily talk about. There are others, but you realize that there are those which are common. Income tax, everyone, me and you. A business, if you have a business, everyone suffers this tax called income tax. And I said, if you have $1 million and you are being charged 30% of $1 million, which is 300, it means instead of you having a disposable income of 1 million, at that point you remain with 700,000. So that's why now tax become an interesting topic for everyone. So if now you have staff, the way Family TV has its own staff here, they are required by law to register for pay as you earn. Now you realize that pay as you earn is a tax on employees' income. But in terms of registration, it is not the employee who registers for pay as you earn.
it is the obligation of the employer by law that because you have people employed starting from yourself, because again when we go into the roles, when you are a director in a company, surely that is a source of employment. Now, so what we need to appreciate is that if I'm employed, I give you my services, I am your staff, it is your role as my boss to actually register for pay as you earn. But also, you as an employee, you need to appreciate that if you negotiated a salary of 1 million, before your boss pays you, then he has to deduct the tax called pay as you earn. It is income tax for people who are in formal employment. That me and you, wherever we are employed, before we are paid, actually the government first gets its share through pay as you earn. But also, if my boss has deducted pay as you earn of my earnings, I should provide with me a credit note to show that actually this is what has been taken off your earnings. Because why is it like that? That you may be having other earnings somewhere. That way you are required to file your own return because you are employed, but at the same time you are in business. So if your boss has deducted now some pay as you earn, when you are preparing your personal return, you have to show that Family TV has paid me $1 million, I've earned $2 million from the business. But when Family TV paid me, they deducted 200 of my earnings. So that now your total liability is reduced by what your employer deducted and remitted to URA. That's true. Now, the other interesting tax in terms of registration is value-added tax. Now, this is one of the most serious tax heads in that for it the moment you get into the register, then the compliance burden in a way increases because one, it is not a tax for everyone. That's an important point to note. That when you look at Section 7 and Section 8 of the Value Added Tax Act, this is where we get the guidance who is permitted to be registered for value added tax, but also what are the requirements. Now, for businesses, when you look at the requirements, the first thing is if you meet the threshold. Now, the threshold, you know, in layman's language, in a simple language, we want to break it down so that we don't go into the act and confuse people. So, this is the amount set by the government that beyond this, you are required to register for value-added tax. Now, today in Uganda, that threshold is 150 million. Now, in 12 months, that if your turnover, sales, in simple terms, amounts to 150 and above in 12 months, you are required compulsory to register for value-added tax. However, in its implementation, it is put into quarterly terms. That yes, whereas we are looking at 150 for 12 months, but we can also look at how much do you make in a quarter, which should be now the 150 put in 2 quarters to become 37.5. That if you have incomes, revenues, sales, taxable sales, you know, amounting to 37 and above in 3 consecutive months. Now, 3 consecutive months, we are looking at Jan, Feb, March. These are 3 months. But in these 3 months, how much is your total sum of your sales? Is it above 37.5 or it's below? So, whereas we are looking at 150 as an annual threshold, here we are saying, what's your quarterly threshold? Are you above 37.5 or you are below? If you are still below, then possibly at that point, you don't need to register. But if you are above, then you are required by law to register. Apply to the commission, asking to be added on the register. When we talk about registration again, it is not getting things and you know, you apply. And in today's system, you know, URI has adopted technology seriously. That today, you sit within your comfort somewhere, whether in your office, you just use online services and you apply. URA receives your application. It is reviewed. Once they are comfortable with what you have submitted, then the commissioner allows you. Once you have been registered, you are now on the value-added tax payers register. You get now.
Yes.
It is after that that now you get into compliance issues in as far as VAT is concerned. But also, there are other ways that, for example, I may not be hitting the threshold. But because of one reason or the other, I also need to be on the register. There are also that I haven't, another position is that, yes, even when I haven't hit the threshold, I have grounds clear that in the coming 3 months, I will actually be able to surpass the 37.5. The moment I have clear grounds, what are these clear grounds? Because we want to get into the details so that we appreciate. When we talk about clear grounds, they are looking at, for example, I have signed a contract in Jan, and the contract is of 100 million.
Yes.
And I know by end of April I will have delivered on this contract. So it means I have a clear ground that in these coming consecutive 3 months, I'm able to surpass 37.5. That way, I will again apply to a commission. I say, I want to be on the register. Now, the other way is that you can actually operate when you are not sure. Then, the moment the 3 months are gone, the moment you sum up and you find that actually you have surpassed, then the question is, when do I register? Very important. In the taxation, we have what we call due dates. Due dates for payment, due date for registration. If I have qualified for this tax head, when am I required to register? If, for example, I use that example of hitting the threshold after 3 months, then you are given 20 days and the next month. Let's say you are using March, Jan, Feb, March. So March becomes your end of 3 months. So by 20th in April, those are 20 days now in the next month, you should be able to actually have applied for this registration. Now, why we look at all of this is that at the end of it all, if you are meant to be on the register and for you decide to be stubborn, what are the implications?
Yes.
That's what we shall look at it. Now, as I said, taxes are many.
Yes.
There is a tax like stamp duty. As you are buying land, as you are getting into memorandums of understanding, they charge that tax called stamp duty. Now for it, unlike VAT and pay as you earn, sometimes we pay it even when we don't know that we have actually paid it. Yes, because for it, when you look at the registration, it is not a tax that is sound out there that it is pushed to register and we do this, register and we do this. Even when you look at the penalties, it is a tax that is not as serious as pay as you earn, income tax, and value added tax. Because even when you look at the collections of the government, the three plus then the customs taxes, that is where now most of the revenues are coming from.
Wow. Like we said, this is really something that we need to give attention to, and I believe that people really need to understand. We all need to understand these things. Now you've given us an overview, but you talked about the other group of people who stubbornly refuse. I think before you even go for the break, can we talk about a few implications that has to a taxpayer, especially if you fail to abide by the law?
Thank you. There are those which are heavier than the others. If I can say, if for example you are meant to register for value added tax, and for you stubbornly you don't register, the moment the government comes in, the moment URA finds you, the penalty is double the tax. You compare, there are two, either 50 currency points, that is 1 million penalty, or double the tax. They compare which one is bigger than the other.
According to the institution?
According to the Value Added Tax Act. And then the Tax Procedures Act, Code Act, that if I'm meant to pay 5 million,
it's the tax.
Yes.
And now me stubbornly, I'm hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
The moment they get me, the penalty is double the 5 million.
In the first place, how do they get me? Am I supposed to declare my books of accounts to them?
That is a very interesting question. And in our practice at the demo consult, those are some of the questions that we get. But we have to appreciate that in business, not only in Uganda, but everywhere, business is not a one-ended transaction. Your income is my revenue. No, your income is my expense. If I'm paying you,
yes.
For you, it's your income. But me who is paying,
expenditure.
It's my expense, so it's my expenditure. What does that mean? That your transactions are linked to some other entities' transactions. So whereas I'm declaring to URA in my records and I'm saying, I paid Mr. Mukalazi so much, URA can pick it up from there. You were paid here. When I sum up the money paid to you in the last 3 months, it is 200 million. You are meant to be on the VAT register. Then the question is, when were you meant to register? Now, the other test of the 3 consecutive months comes in and the 37.5. If it happens that in 1 month you were actually above, then it means your due date, the time when you are meant to actually apply for registration, was at the end of that month. You get my point?
Yes.
So the penalty comes in at a point, when were you meant to register?
Yes.
And the question is, did you register? If you did not register, then the penalty now comes in. In VAT, double the tax.
Wow. Let's take a short commercial break. When we return, we are starting from there. But one thing I'm realizing is you can never run away from taxes. Even when you think you're so smart, taxes are waiting for you.
Sure.
We are coming back shortly.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives. This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Together, we build strong, healthy, and thriving families with our daily dose of inspiration and expert insights on topics that matter, like education and career growth.
A child may be a good entrepreneur, but you're forcing the child to make sure that she passes sciences in order for her to be a what? A nurse.
Family health.
No one should one day tell you that, hey, since you have diabetes, you should not take Caro. That's a lie. There's what you call portion control.
Finance and wealth.
Keep track of your spending. And part of the spending, of course, as we said, be able to separate wants from needs. That's secondly.
Leadership and governance.
There are people who take on the political aspect and try to water down important, significant decisions we leaders take for the good of this country.
Not forgetting parenting.
Now you're raising kids or children who are in a totally different time. You get it. Those days your mother would just give you an eye and you know this is a problem.
Hey, there are visitors.
There are visitors
and
around.
Mom gives you this eye, you know?
Yes.
Catch more of this every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m.
We are looking at tax registration, but interestingly, before the break, there is something that came up, especially most of us who have business downtown. We are so stubborn. We do not want to comply, and sometimes we think URA will never reach where I am. URA will never know about my business. URA will never know about this transaction. So there is no way I'll pay this tax. We are continuing with our discussion, but just in case you have any inquiries, you have any questions, our social media platforms are open. So you can go to our Twitter, that is OX, that is COU Family TV, Facebook, COU Family TV, but also follow this discussion live on our YouTube channel, that is COU Family TV, and of course other platforms like our website and on your TV app. We are with Dedan, who is a certified and chartered accountant. He's the MD of Demo Consults Limited, and before the break you talked about something and it somehow scared me, and I realized no one is safe even when we think we are safe. Sure. You know, sometimes you hide somewhere and you're like, yeah, you will never get me, especially here where I am. But you were still telling us how I can actually track you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, Mr. Mukalazi, I happen to be a taxpayer in a number of ways. Not just as a tax advisor, but also what I'm talking about are issues that I also face as a taxpayer.
Okay.
That URA today, and I think we must appreciate URA.
Yes.
It has adopted technology, use of technology and artificial intelligence, and what they are doing when it comes to data mining, I think they are doing very well. Now, with the way they are mining the data, processing the data, doing a 360 compliance check, they are able to track us, almost all of us, down. It is just a matter of time. What am I saying? That today, as you transact wherever you're transacting from, in one way or the other, because they are following up each and every entry and what it does, it is just a matter of time. So, saying that for you are so smarter than the government through its authority is just living in denial. Actually, what I always tell people, that even if you wanted to manage taxes, you can only manage taxes when you are on the register, when you are actually on the journey of compliance. Quite often, the number of times that I deal with URA officers, when they find you on the journey, then it is easier for them to guide you on actually how to move a bit faster on this compliance journey. Now, that causes that all of us, can we know that we are actually meant to do, as long as you are in business, you are earning, you are still productive. It is a requirement. It is also a citizen requirement that world over citizens pay taxes. So if we appreciate that, maybe at one point we shall see why should we even pay taxes?
Yes.
So if we appreciate that, then we have no reason why we should actually hide. Because hiding today, because the way URI is processing this and that, it is becoming too expensive. That for you not to register is actually much more expensive than when you are registering and you are actually doing your part. That's all I can say. So the use of technology cannot allow us today hide. At one point we shall discuss issues of IFRIS and how IFRIS has almost changed the way we do business here. So hiding is no longer an option for us as long as we are still productive. If you are in your 70s and all that, you really don't mind about 18 and all that. If you are below 18, you don't mind. But as long as you are productive, maybe if you want to go and start selling greens, but even these greens, you cannot sell greens to a big entity. You want to sell your greens to Serena, possibly a tin is also a requirement. So a tin has become part and parcel of people who are still productive. That there is nothing you do where you actually don't need a tin. So my encouragement is that all of us, we need to get this, but also we always have a worry. If I register, then I start paying taxes.
Yes.
We shall look at compliance and what it takes. And being registered for tax purposes is the first step into the compliance journey. But it does not necessarily mean paying taxes. You pay taxes when you are meant to pay. I may be having a tin, I'm fully registered, but I haven't earned. So where do I pay from? Yeah, it is that easy that just communicate to the government through its authority, the URA, that here, yes, I have my tin, but I know it's my obligation to tell you what I have done. Now for me, I didn't earn. And URA, through its leaders, they will be so comfortable with you. However,
they don't have any record of me earning.
However, that's the point I'm coming to. That some of us, in trying to make ourselves so smarter than the government through its authorities, we feel by submitting a return is that communication I talked about. I can't keep it just simple. That you communicate through this format called a return online. So quite often you want to go and say, I've not earned, and submit to government through URA. But because of the data I talked about and the use of technology, they are actually able to tell that, no, Mr. Mukalazi, you are saying that you didn't earn, but the other time you transacted. So, you can, as I said, it has become too expensive for us to hide. Quite often, those who have tried, no tax like accounting is just a historical subject. They cannot ask you on things that you have not done. You can spend your 3 years in business and you are like, me, I'm smart. Those guys, I know, they even don't know that they exist. But the moment they touch you, the moment they come, you will feel it. We have seen businesses close because they have tried to actually outsmart the government.
Actually, as we got into now this, we were looking at some of the implications, especially to those who dodge taxes or those who deliberately don't want to. And you had talked about one, which was a penalty.
Penalties.
Yes, penalties.
Now, the other implication is that today, as long as you are in a formal business, there is a document from URA called a tax clearance, which has also become part and parcel of business. That wherever you are looking for business from, they say, we want to know how compliant you are. So, if you are looking for, maybe you want to supply NSSF, you want to supply MTN, and they are asking you for a tax clearance. The tax clearance, URA is saying, Mr. Mukalazi is in our good books, he's clean. So, if you are not registered, they ask you a tax clearance, where do you start from? I have seen businesses that were at one point competitive. Today they are no longer competitive because they kept informal, they want to keep hiding, they are not good at keeping records, bookkeeping is a different thing when it comes to these businesses. Now they are being out-competed because paperwork today, there is no paperwork that any organization will ask you without a tax clearance. Of course, the other implication when it becomes serious, that URA today comes and closes your business. That is a business disruption.
Yes.
Imagine you have a shop or a supermarket, like this big supermarket. Because you have not done your part, because you are trying to hide, the government comes and closes your business. Even if it is for a single day, how much have you lost?
I remember one time they closed the supermarket, and I saw the commotion and the disruption that really happened, and I believe it really costed them a lot. One, by closing, but also the name, tarnishing the name of the supermarket, and you know, it is really a big setback.
You know, in a business, reputation, anything that damages your reputation has put you down seriously. So there is no one in a business who would want to see URA closing. Even if it was a KCCA, you wouldn't want to see your shop
putting a seal on your shop,
and your neighbors, your staff, you know.
But also those loyal customers, sorries, come to your business.
True. Imagine a customer is traveling somewhere, coming to your shop, and the shop is closed, and there is security because you have not paid the government. It doesn't add up. So the costs are there, and they are heavy. So when we are handling tax starting from its registration, these are some of the things that we must give attention, as long as, especially in the business. You know, when you are formally employed, the compliance bit is on the head of your employer. But when you are in the business, the compliance for yourself and the compliance for the business itself is on your head. So we cannot wait until we are disrupted, until we are penalized, until we have lost businesses, that because we want to outsmart the government and its authorities. Yes.
Well, there is something that we, of course, we talked about all these, but and the implications. But let us talk about now the importance. Why is tax registration really important for any business or any institution?
Interesting. Now, as we said, when you just steal it a little, the disadvantages or the repercussions of not being registered. But now to bring some of this is that today you can easily access a tax clearance because you are registered, because you are tax compliant. What does that mean? That for you, when you are looking at your paperwork and trying to do bidding and compete with other businesses, you submit your application today, in just 30 minutes, you have your tax clearance. You go and bid. That is, today it is common. That as long as you are compliant, and now we cannot talk about compliance when you are not registered.
Yes.
That's what I want us to appreciate. That as long as you are compliant, just an application takes even sometimes less than 30 minutes, and URA has already approved. So in terms of business, you move faster than the others. That's one. Two, that by being registered, you will avoid the other penalties, because these penalties are costs to your business. So by doing what you are meant to do, you avoid the costs that will have hurt you in advance. You get my point? But also, your reputation. We have seen, for example, URA recognizing good taxpayers.
Yes.
You know, in the eyes of the public, this person is a good citizen, is a compliant citizen. So in terms of winning customers and clients, it becomes easier for you than the one that had been closed. You get my point?
Yes.
So, but even all the other stakeholders, including your staff, imagine you are a company, say any company around, and you are closed. What's the image you are portraying before your staff? So, as long as you are compliant, you are hanging your certificates of appreciation from URA, then even your staff, they are like, yes, our boss pays us, pays the government, and is a good employer anyway. You get? So it is advisable that we do these things as early as possible, because normally when we want to comply, because URA has come in, it is always costly, it is always disruptive, it is, you know, it distorts everything that we do. So as part of compliance, tax registration, we need to do it as early as possible, as long as we are still productive.
Okay. Talking about registration, are there specific documents or specific, specific information that people, taxpayers, need to prepare themselves or to equip themselves with before they get into the registration process?
Thank you so much. Indeed, you are spot on. A number of them. For example, if you are to get a tin today, we said getting a tin means you are registering for income tax.
Yes.
A source of income is a must. Unlike before. That's why I said before, anyone would apply for a tin. But today, a source of income is a must, and this source of income must be supported. If you say you are employed by Family TV, then you should be having a contract in place, you should be having an ID, and all of these attachments should be put for you to verify that indeed you are employed. If you say that you are in business, today the other businesses, just saying in words that you are in business, it no longer makes sense. At least you have a business name. So if you want to get a tin and your source of employment, your source of income is business, then that business should be registered with URSB. Short of that, then you are not in business.
So does it mean that, for instance, there is this company called Demo Consults?
Yes.
So Dedan has a TIN number as an employee somewhere, but also Demo Consults has a TIN number as a company?
Exactly. I was actually coming to that.
Okay.
When I'm talking about source of income, I was looking at individuals, but they are also what we call non-individuals. So on the part of now individuals, me and you,
yes.
So the source of income must be clear. You must have clear identification to the extent that today, if you have a national ID, you just apply online, and within 5 minutes you have your TIN number.
Yes.
That's where we have reached as a nation and technology, use of technology. But if you go into the bit of now non-individual, non-individual can be NGOs, can be companies, can be. Now, for a company, one, you must really be located somewhere. It's recent that URA no longer does actually visit check, but even then, the address should be clear. If you say I'm at Church House, Church House alone is not a location.
Okay.
I'm Church House, level 13, this room number. So they would want you to be specific where you are located. But also you must be legally registered. What shows that you are legally registered? That is a certificate of incorporation. On top of the certificate of incorporation, you must put a form which we call Form 20. Form 20 shows who are the directors and who is the secretary for this company. Because as I said, directors are those charged with the running of this business.
Yes.
Now, when you are applying for a TIN number for a company, you must even attach TIN numbers for these directors. That is one way how I said that they are using data to actually find us where we are. So, if I'm a company, I'm a director in Demo Consult, my TIN is attached on the profile for Demo Consult. If I am a director in another company, my TIN is also there. So the moment URA gets my TIN and puts it in their system, the system is able to bring all the other companies. If they are 10, they are 10. So, what does that mean? That if I'm filing 1 million as my earnings per month, URA will ask you man, associated with 10 companies and you are a director, you cannot earn 1 million. And indeed, you cannot run a business here and there, and you are running you are earning 1 million. A very good question that you always ask us when we go there representing taxpayers. No, I go, Mr. Mukalazi is not earning what? Then they ask you, how old is Mr. Mukalazi? He's 30. Does he have a family? Yes. How does he survive? You are saying he's not earning. How does Mr. Mukalazi survive? It is always a hard question to answer. But I've also told people that as we try and do all these games, let's remember that URA officers are people like us. So whatever we are hiding and the games we are playing, they already know. So my encouragement is that, one, we need always to pay attention to taxpayer education. As I had stated at the beginning, today you cannot afford to be in business and accept to be tax illiterate. Because it is going to hurt you, and will hurt you by the time you realize you have spent so much. Yes. Now, when you look at, for example, value-added tax, one of the requirements we had talked about the threshold, that minimum amount they required. But also there are other requirements. One, you should be able to keep proper books of accounts. Why? Because value-added tax is about, this is what I bought, this is what I sold. What you bought, you paid some VAT, value-added tax. What you sold, you also charged some value-added tax. You need to, at the end of it all, you are comparing the two to see, am I paying the government or am I demanding from the government? So you cannot do that kind of netting off when you don't have proper books of accounts. So it is a requirement. But also, you must have, we call it in tax as a fixed place of abode, a fixed place of work. If you are to be on the register, previously they used to first actually inspect your office. What would they be looking at? Look at documents, so that they confirm that you are actually able to record, but also they want to know that you have a fixed place of location. Remember, you are charging people, when you are selling, you are charging people VAT, 18% on behalf of the government. So they would want to deal with someone who is credible, not just someone who is carrying a business in his bag. You collect millions and millions from people and you disappear. That's not what they require. So, as one of the requirements, you should be a credible person. You're able to keep records. You have a fixed place of work on top of the threshold and the other requirements. Yes. So now for pay as you earn, as I said, that's an obligation of the employer. Me, if I'm formerly employed by Family TV, I don't mind about tax compliance. But as a responsible citizen, we need also to follow up and know. Quite often, people deduct the pay as you earn and it is not remitted to government.
Yes.
And sometimes it may take some time before the government actually knows that Mukalazi is paid, less pay as you earn, but the pay as you earn is not remitted to the government. So we need to always engage and know our taxes being paid. Because as I said, paying tax is your citizen obligation. Yes, sir.
Well, as we get closer to the end of this discussion, I know we have about 2 minutes or 3. What is your last advice to Ugandans out there when it comes to tax registration and how important it is, especially to someone who is in business?
Thank you so much. As we conclude indeed, my encouragement and my advice is that you cannot talk about tax compliance when you are not on the tax register. So, register and tax registration does not mean paying taxes, but it is a first step towards being compliant. So, as Uganda, we have a number of issues here and there in terms of compliance, but also in terms of accountability. But quite often, what I always advise people, let's first do our role, our obligation of being compliant by paying taxes, by registering on time, by being compliant Ugandans. Then issues of accountability, those will come next. You cannot start with accountability before you actually do your part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dedan. It's been a pleasure knowing about this entire topic. And just to encourage our viewers that next week we shall have now another interesting topic still in tax, because we really want to at least to be part of your progress when it comes to tax compliance. And this is one of the ways we can bringing you people here to give you all the knowledge you need when it comes to taxes. From the entire team, Brinko, Norman, Jonan, and very many other people out there. It is a good night, but Family Hour continues tomorrow. It's a Thursday. We shall be having leadership and governance. But remember to wake up with us on Good Morning Family. Next is Soul Moment. Good night.